But it does get a bit cold in here after a while, doesn't it?
No, I'm still...
It is nice for now, but I'm going to have to go for a walk outside afterwards.
Limber up.
Today, I'm joined by Bernadette Carey, partner at one of the leading local law firms, Carey Olsen, and heads up the trusts and private wealth team. Bernadette, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Great to be in some air conditioning.
It is nice and chilly in here. So diving straight into it, what is a trust and why would somebody want one?
Well, a trust is an interesting concept, and it is a concept that sometimes people are a little bit nervous about when they come to us and want to set up a trust. It's basically a relationship where you, as the owner of your assets, are handing over the legal ownership to a professional trustee, ideally, to look after those assets for you according to the terms of a trust document that you have agreed together. Why do people use them? People use them for quite a variety of reasons. We see mostly for succession planning purposes. So families really want to make sure that their wealth that they've generated over their lifetime is in good hands and managed properly for the next generation of family coming through. International families like to use trusts because they offer security and privacy, particularly if you're a globally mobile family that might move between jurisdictions. And, you know, day-to-day people just like the idea of legal ownership of their assets being properly looked after by somebody who won't be subject to attack by their creditors if something goes wrong.
Yes, and you do hear sort of stories whereby the trustee, I don't know, and it often, ends up in the papers where it will be siphoning off, funds or whatever else. So it is super important that you obviously get, it all structured correctly.
Yeah, and that is the biggest concern for people when they come to see us wanting legal advice on structuring. They just want to know, look, who's going to do this properly for us? How regulated is the industry here in the Cayman Islands? The short answer to that is highly regulated. And how can we just make sure our family's looked after in the long run.
Yeah. And so one of the questions there is, why would somebody choose to do it, have a trust structured in the Cayman Islands as opposed to any other, jurisdictions?
The answer is the depth of service providers on the island, but also just the length of time we've been up and running and how robust the industry is here. So compared to other jurisdictions, we have a huge number of professional trustees who know what they're doing. They've been doing it a long time. They've been working in the industry for decades. And we also have a really robust court system. So if something goes wrong, we can our jurisdiction can be trusted to get it right and find a solution that works for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So on the succession planning, so I've got an extract from an article I found online, which is Fractures in the Family, Advising Wealthy Families in the Midst of Conflicts. Family feuds can be the greatest source of hurt, and generational wealth can often be the catalyst for irreparable conflict. Where there is great wealth, there is also great potential for infighting and acrimony as family members deploy the greatest resources at their disposal to score points, defend their pride, and establish a leading role in the family. This genuinely sounds like the sort of the writer's script for Succession.
It is, yeah.
So, you must have seen some, stories and some really, not nice ends to what is a potentially phenomenal inheritance, and it all just falls flat.
Yeah. We do, and it's fascinating to watch. Sometimes I wish I had have done a psychology degree. Because quite often when you're involved in a big dispute over family wealth, it is coming down to it's not a legal issue. It is why have these siblings fallen out? Who didn't get, and it can go right back to literally something happened when we were kids and we just can't get over it. So it's really fascinating to watch. I think one of the problems we're seeing a lot at the moment is the generational shift in how families want to manage their money. So if you think about in the past, a lot of old families would have just been, the kids would have been very happy taking their inheritance, flying around the world on their private jets and not doing much. But I think one of the cool things we are seeing now is this next generation coming through is very well educated, have got great ideas. They want to do stuff with the family money themselves. And that sometimes gives rise to disputes as well, right? Where, the matriarch, patriarch might be saying, absolutely not, I don't want you going off and investing in psychedelics or, doing crazy things with this family money. And just old wounds always come to the surface around
I can only imagine when you throw, a lot of money onto something, it's like throwing gasoline onto a fire, and it just exacerbates any cracks that are already in the armor there. What was I going to say? Are you finding when it comes to families, and this is more an investment sort of strategy, but are families more wanting to invest in sustainability and, it's wondering more how they make their money or why they make the money as opposed to how?
Yeah, definitely. A lot more focus on, and in two ways. What are we going to do in the future is really important. The kids definitely have a lot more to say about this is the direction we think the family needs to go if we're going to sustain this level of wealth into the future. We also have a few family members that like to look back into the past and get concerned about, well, how did our family make this money? Have we done the right thing? Should we be making reparations? You sometimes see that with families.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
That have made their money from coal, or may have taken, for example, Indigenous land. So we're also seeing a few families wanting to make reparations and wanting to establish, for example, foundations that might, sort of give back to, in some way, and fix problems that may have been caused by the family in the past. So that's a very delicate.
That is, but that's great to hear, because I think wealth is often perceived quite negatively. But it's great to know that, individuals are, and I think in this day and age more than ever, are super conscious of that and are making, those efforts.
And it's quite a cool thing to be part of too. And it leads to other really interesting questions around the management of wealth. Quite often families will say, well, should we give all this money, a big chunk of our money to charity? And we say that's very good, but don't forget to police the charity at the other end and make sure it's going to the right place and make sure the charity is on the same page as you with what you want to achieve here.
Yeah, and again, it's being managed responsibly.
Yes,
that money.
Yeah, common theme.
Yeah. Talk to me about family office. What is a family office? How does that differ to a trust, etc.?
Yeah, so a trust is a very basic structure. And anybody and everybody can have a trust. It can hold the most simple things, just hold some shares in a valuable company, or it can hold really a whole portfolio of different assets. We could go down various paths around the strange assets we see put into trusts and the strange wishes of people.
What's the strangest?
Oh gosh, we've had lots of strange whole sort of zoos of taxidermied animals, which is interesting. We've had, I don't know if you've heard of cremation diamonds. It's when you your pet may have passed away, but you can have their ashes
super compressed. I've heard of that.
So we've had, all sorts of strange things like that.
Okay, wow, that's interesting.
A family office is should be a much more layered structure. And it's usually for families that have a few different arms to their business. So they might have an investment arm, they might have a property arm, they might have a philanthropy arm, charitable work, what that we've spoken about. And they just want to make sure that there is someone dedicated or an entity dedicated to making sure each component of their family business is well managed.
Mm-hmm.
Some family offices even have a concierge arm that runs the family. Books, make sure the private jet is ready to go when they need it.
How do I get one of those?
I know. I haven't figured it out, but
I'm working on it. Yeah. And at what point does somebody or may not realize that they need a family office?
It's usually when there is sort of a liquidity event of some amount that the family is, okay, this is a life-changing amount. So usually it will be when the family's sold the business or a component of their business for a good amount. Usually it's around the time of generational change where maybe the patriarch's going to be retiring and moving out, and they want to make sure that, the family's business is well structured. I've been talking a lot about families who've already made their money. We are seeing increasingly first generation wealth, particularly on the island. I'm sure you see it a lot too.
Definitely.
Just people who've done very, very well, entrepreneurs, and this is the first time they've actually had any wealth to speak of, and so they want to make sure it's a business in itself well looked after.
And that's where we obviously come in a little bit. Somebody will often be seeing properties online, or it's a referral that we receive from somebody like yourself, and we'll assist with the property section. But the whole structure behind what name they purchased the property in. Is it in a trust or corporation? Is really, really important to get right first time round. And so that's where we will often advise our clients to speak to somebody such as yourself to get that kind of advice from a lawyer. And also second to that is the immigration side when it comes to residency on the island, because obviously that will mitigate global taxation as well. So there's a lot. You're not just buying a property. It's there's a whole other plethora of things to consider.
And family office is not just about the legal structures. Family offices very much, and I think it's something the Cayman Islands is very good at. We have this teams-based approach between us all. When a family office is being set up, we are aware that as lawyers, they're going to need local accountants. They're going to need probably a local concierge business. There's some really great businesses like that have sprung up over time. They're going to need property agents like you guys. It's going to be a real, private bankers. It's going to be a real teams-based approach to help this family office function, which is great.
It is. And I think the island is very good for that because it's such a small island. Literally, your office is a 4-minute drive from us. So if you are making recommendations, somebody within a day or two, they can have their whole structure and a team of professionals really assist in their transitional formation of whatever it is they're looking to achieve. So you're originally from New Zealand.
Yes, I am.
What brought you here to this tiny little dot of an island in the middle of nowhere?
Well, I can give you two answers to that because I've been here twice. I've made the decision to come twice. So we first moved here in 2008. I moved here as someone in my late 20s. And if I'm doing a full confession here, it's that I didn't actually know where the Cayman Islands were.
No, that's not uncommon.
So we picked up jobs as lawyers on the island in 2008. Thought we'd take a chance. Again, New Zealand is a long way away. And it was sort of the idea of trying to work in the financial services industry in a jurisdiction that was very busy, dealing with very high value work, but also having that work-life balance. You only have to look on a website and see how amazing the beaches are, and how close it is to the US. The travel through the Caribbean was really attractive to us as well. And then second time round, so we were here for 5 years, then went back to New Zealand. And then we came back again in my late 30s with 2 kids in tow this time.
It's a very different island.
Yes, very different experience. But equally as fantastic because it did offer me the opportunity to come back to that really fantastic job of working in the private client industry with fantastic families, but also for our family. The education on the island is amazing. Some of the schools are fantastic. Private healthcare is amazing. So living a really nice life with fantastic work, but also a great life out of the office too. And coming from rural New Zealand, sometimes it feels like that small town life.
Very much so. And I think that's, and certainly for anyone moving here, but the high net worths and ultra high net worths, the safety is absolutely paramount. And you can be paranoid, whereas here it's by and large a non-issue.
And I think that's been a really positive thing for the Cayman Islands. It's the pandemic really showed us that. We became a safe haven for international families, and people aren't really looking for that extra passport. It's just something to have now. They're looking more for this kind of concept of a portfolio of domiciles. They're internationally global families that at any moment, if they need to, they have a bolt hole somewhere around the world where they're going to feel safe and secure, but where they are also going to have access to, as I said, great healthcare, professional services industry. It's a very good viable option.
And the world is getting increasingly smaller. The Cayman Islands, which was, you would have heard about it in some films, not very flattering, but the world is so small, people are able to work remotely. And so if you can work in, paradise and then, for 6 months of the year or whatever, and then travel to your other jurisdictions, then why wouldn't you?
It's a very attractive proposition.
No, it is. And I think increasingly so, which is one of the questions I had was, how do you see your line of work changing moving forward?
Well, one of the big changes we've already discussed, it's clients on the island. When I first moved in 2008, very, very rare to have a client on the island that was actually are living here and wanted big family office structures or big trust structures. Now we have clients here all the time. They may have initially come just for a quick holiday and then realized, hang on, this is not a bad place to have a base. So I think we are also going to be moving beyond traditional structures. So it's not just about having a trust to hold money. I think the families that are using the Cayman Islands are going to want to invest a lot more in the Cayman Islands. You've probably seen this too.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's a really cool thing. A lot of high net worth families that have moved here are contributing to the island, really doing a lot to be involved in protecting the island for the future, which is fantastic.
It is. And I think it's a very welcoming island, genuinely. And so I think individuals that come down here instantly find themselves with a network of like-minded individuals and a social sphere that they can interact with. And naturally, on a small island, you want to keep yourself busy. And on the property side, there's no annual property taxes. There's no inheritance tax. And if you've got investment portfolios down here, property-wise, there's no income tax on those. And so individuals coming down are, it's from where they've been, real estate investment really does make sense. And also it's very easy to manage because it's a small island as well. That is interesting.
Yeah, so I think that will definitely be where we go, just an island of innovation. It's always been, it's in the history, the Caymanian history.
Yeah, it's very entrepreneurial.
And I think that will only increase here. We've seen, the technology industry really growing on the island. Mm-hmm. We are starting to see really cool things in the music industry. Lots of interest in, increasing exposure to sport. So I think that's something really, really cool to watch evolve. It's not just about, having a booming financial services industry, which we do. It's about
which is pretty dull. Let's be honest.
It is.
And I'd say it is great to see all of that. I think the future of the Cayman Islands is incredibly strong. We both live here. You've been here twice, and so we've been very much drinking the Kool-Aid. But I think for anyone listening that hasn't been here but is maybe considering it, come and check it out and just immerse yourself in the island. And it's a very hard place to leave once you've had exposure to it, I think. Yeah,
it is. And we've had that experience more than once. We've had clients who were sort of on these recon missions to other islands in the Caribbean.
Yeah, they'll do it.
And we've said, you're so close. Why don't you just come over and spend a couple of days with us? And they do. And within a few days, they've decided.
It's a no-brainer. And I have these conversations with clients all the time because they're online looking at various different properties. They're like, we're considering Bahamas, BVI, maybe Turks. And after they do their reconnaissance missions, if they're looking at spending, if you're looking for a holiday home, any of those islands would be great. But if you're looking at spending any extended period of time on an island, I hold bias towards Cayman, full disclosure, but I think there is no better island in the Caribbean in which to do that than the Cayman Islands.
Yeah. And with the, we said it at the start, with the population becoming more mobile, families becoming more international, it just feels like a very stable environment too, in a world where, there is a lot of volatility.
So.
So I think we can offer that as well. Some of the other jurisdictions in North America in particular are currently grappling with things that we have had in place for a while, so beneficial ownership, going back to the boring law stuff for a second. But, things like economic substance or just, want verifying identity to set up structures and things like that. A lot of the, US and Canadian families we're dealing with are just saying, we've never seen this before. What does this mean? And we're saying, don't worry, we've had these systems in play here for decades. Mm-hmm. We know we know how to deal with this. We can certainly explain it all to you. It's not dramatic at all. This is how a transparent and robust jurisdiction works.
And I think that's it. It's when individuals do come here for the first time, it's very much a home away from home because it is a very sophisticated Caribbean island. It's very easy to settle into. Interesting. What do you love most about living in the Cayman Islands?
I think I love the fact that it has got that small town feel. It feels safe and comfortable and easy, but it's balanced by just the background of everything we do here. The work here is fascinating. The people we meet are amazing. So it's a really great mix of safe and secure, but interesting and innovative.
Yes, yeah. And sunshine and safe. And,
Good restaurants too.
Yeah,
We haven't talked about the food.
Phenomenal restaurants. We'll have to leave that for another podcast. But some of the best dining, certainly the Caribbean, if not the world.
Yeah.
So for a small Caribbean island, we're very lucky with the amount of restaurants on the island. Well, thank you very much for coming in to chat.
pleasure.
If somebody is interested in talking to you further, where can they contact you?
You can just find my details on our website, careyolsen.com. And I'm sure we can put them underneath any posts about this.
And comment section below.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.